wanted to take a moment to introduce this rant that was written by my friend Richard Dresser. I liked it so much and felt it hit a lot of nails on the head as he does in his inimitable fashion. I wanted to use it. I was thinking of using it as the introduction to this Rantcast. I'm going to read it for you now, and you should know about Richard that he and I have been friends for quite a long time. We've worked together on a number of projects. One in particular that is really near and dear to me is the one I starred in, a pilot that I wish had gone a series on Fox. He wrote it with another brilliant writer, Jay Tarsis. It's called Harvey Berger Salesman, directed by my friend Mark Lynn Baker with a stellar cast. And maybe we'll talk about that some other time. But it was way, way ahead of its time. For those of you who like to read plays, pick up some of Richard's. He's a gifted playwright. He's written some wonderful work. And for those of you who do theater, once we reopen, it's someone that you should take a look at. Richard also wrote a book that's come out recently. It's called It Happened Here, an incredibly insightful piece of work, a wonderful novel, very dark in so many ways. And yet I think, and I wrote a blurb for it, that I truly believe in, that he really emotionally nails what we've been through over these past 4 years in terms of family relationships. And I think that he's found a voice in those characters for not only what we feel about the world, but what we feel when we look at each other and what it is in essence done to us. It's well worth your time. So I will now read, and I hope do justice to Richard Dresser's piece, I will call it, I Didn't Lose. He didn't lose. He's defending the Constitution. Our electoral system is under assault. There's voter fraud like we've never seen before. The judges won't accept the truth, and the media won't either. He didn't lose. Bad things happened. If we don't have faith in our elections, we don't have a country anymore. He didn't lose. Democrats rigged it from the beginning. They used the China virus to boost mail-in ballots, which were counted in foreign countries. Dominion voting machines were programmed to flip votes from Trump to Biden. The media knows this and won't touch it. He didn't lose. Democrats backdated ballots and helped people fill them out. In counties in Michigan, there were more ballots than people. Dead people voted in unprecedented numbers. Some of them had been dead for years and weren't familiar with the issues. He didn't lose. Democrats filled out mail-in ballots so that Trump voters were told they'd already voted, and they became disheartened. He was winning on election night until early the next morning when there was a massive dump of Biden votes. Where did they come from? It wasn't fair. He didn't lose. Republican poll watchers were forced to stand out in the parking lot with blindfolds on. Democratic poll watchers were allowed to tell voters to vote for Biden and offer them cappuccino. Every governor called him up and said, "Sir, you won my state in a landslide." He didn't lose. He built the wall, and the Mexicans paid for it. He stopped caravans at the border before they could vote and get on welfare and join gangs and kill our cheerleaders. He pardoned Michael Flynn because Flynn admitted he lied about admitting he lied about talking to the Russians, and every cabinet member deserves a third chance. He's the most popular president in history, which is why his face is on Mount Rushmore. He knew COVID was a Democratic hoax before anyone. He didn't lose. He kept the suburbs safe from black people. Women are constantly calling him up and saying, "Sir, thank you for saving our suburbs." His travel ban kept the China virus in China, or else we'd have a pandemic here in the USA. He was the first to understand that Clorox and hydrochloroquine would stop the virus in its tracks. He knew that masks were dangerous because he talked to waiters. He knew that COVID would magically disappear on November 4th. Every doctor said to him, "Sir, you are so gifted. You could have been a doctor or a world-famous scientist." He didn't lose. There was a conspiracy of Hugo Chavez and the Chinese and the Cubans and Dominion voting machines and Bill Barr and Bill Raffensperger and Brian Kemp and the FBI and Christopher Krebs and the Justice Department and the judges and the media and thousands of local officials of both parties and George Soros and the Democratic deep state who've been planning this for years. They were all working on Instagram with secret passwords. This is the tip of the iceberg, but the FBI won't look into it. He didn't lose. He couldn't have raped E. Jean Carroll because she isn't his type. He exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un, which is why North Korea ended their nuclear program. His sanctions on Iran shut down their nuclear program. He brought a lasting peace to the Middle East, but the media is afraid to report it. He was the first president to put a man on the moon. What you saw in 1969 was filmed in a studio on 42nd Street and is fake news. Many people who were there called him up and said, "Sir, we were there." They used trick photography. There was no man on the moon. He didn't lose. Nobody knew what to do with their mail-in ballots. People used them for paper airplanes and rolling papers and toilet paper and snorting cocaine. Over 78 animals in the St. Louis Zoo were allowed to vote, and they all went for Biden. Ballots were found in rivers and on mountaintops and in gay nightclubs and were distributed by Democratic drug dealers in the inner city. Hundreds of voters called him up and said, "Sir, we received 50 ballots. This seems wrong." It was a landslide. It was as big a hoax as Russia, and COVID and climate change and the Mueller report put together. He's doing this for America. He loves America, and Democrats don't. They just care about wealth and power. And he cares about people, hardworking, everyday people just like him. He would never cheat at golf because it doesn't matter who wins. It wasn't even close. Over 1/3 of the world's population attended his inauguration. He's the least racist person you've ever met. He's done more for black people than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. Without him, Frederick Douglass wouldn't have had a career. He's been tougher on the Russians than anyone, with the possible exception of Joseph Stalin. He's done more for the environment than any president, with the possible exception of Teddy Roosevelt. He believes in America first. Democrats hate America and want to turn it into a communist state. He's the least communist president ever, with the possible exception of Calvin Coolidge. It only took him 18 months to balance the budget. He put his name on relief checks because the money came straight out of his pocket. He didn't lose. He drained the swamp. He only hired the best people. He had the least corrupt administration of any president, with the possible exception of William Henry Harrison. The Electoral College was his safety school. He won every state and most of the Canadian provinces, and 97% of the popular vote, more than any other president, with the possible exception of Al Gore. He won so much, he's tired of winning. He's the only one who can fix it. He didn't lose.